Okay, let's talk about how to pick a puppy. There are many ways to approach this process. The thing I want you, though, to kind of release yourself of maybe the worry is that you're looking for the perfect puppy. The truth of the matter is, what we're looking for is the best puppy that fits your situation and your short and long-term goals. That's what we're looking for. Understanding that, the reality is there are many puppies, potentially, that can fit well into your existing family dynamic. Okay, so take a breath, don't panic. All right, so here's how we recommend that you pick a puppy so that you really ensure the high likelihood of a successful onboarding and, lifelong family friend. We recommend you lead with temperament. We're really looking for a temperament match. More than genetics, more than size, more than sex even, we are looking for a temperament match. A puppy that temperamentally works best with the vibe and situation of your family. So this is the discussion that we would be having extensively. Who lives at home? How do people work? What goes on? Is it a high activity household? Is it a moderate activity household? Is it a low activity household? By the way, it can be a mix of all of the above. We just want to get a sense of how would you describe the energy level of the house in general, and where do you see your puppy participating? In some cases, it's like, hey man, our pup, we just want to come home and scratch their chin and they hang out and they watch Netflix with us. Some people are like, well, we fish, we hike, we run, we go camping, and we want our pup to participate in all of that. And in most cases with folks, it's a mix of all of the above. So what we're looking for is the best puppy with the right temperament profile that will likely be successful in the context that you want the puppy to live in, okay? So I want you to just sort of relieve yourself perhaps of the worry that, man, we got to find the perfect right puppy. By the way, we've got some folks playing right next to me, as you can hear. Okay, so let's talk about temperament in particular. A lot of folks will come to me and say, hey, Jim, we really want a chill puppy, or we really want an energetic puppy, or we really want a puppy that's really laid back. Here's how we think about this. It's sort of like, if you've ever had kids or seen kids or been around kids, you know that a child can be one way when they're 8 weeks old, another way when they're 2 years old, another way when they're 16 and 25 and 60. Puppies are exactly the same way. So the way that we think about it here is what we want to do is create a puppy with a profile that's in what we would consider an optimal temperament window. Our puppies being in the window of optimal temperament, what that simply means is these puppies are very likely to do really well in a large variety of family situations. So I want you to think about it. We have the puppy in our environment for 8 weeks. And we've got those 8 weeks broken up very, very specifically in the way we want to begin to socialize and normalize these puppies so that on week 8, when most of them go home, they're in a place where they are ready. They're just ready to learn to sit, to learn to be in a crate, to learn to be on a leash, and begin to learn how to live in your family. So I'll give you an example. We'll rate the energy level of our pups, from 1 being very, very chill to 5 being assertive, right? with 3 to 4 being a good mix of assertion, of being assertive and energetic, but also kind of being laid back. The thing you should know is if the puppy's in that window, then the likelihood that any one of the puppies that you might see on a picking day could work for your situation is very high. And this is when we break down a bit into the nuances. So I'll give you an example. Guys, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're a family with young kids, right? And the young kids are energetic. You may think that the puppy that works best is kind of chill because you're like, my life is very full and my kids are very energetic. And the answer is it could work. However, we might look more at a puppy that is more assertive. Here's why. Because that energy coming at them, they like that. They thrive on that. It gives them energy, right? So the urge to play and to participate on the puppy that's more like a 4 or a 5 level, they're going to want to participate and play. A more chill puppy, say a 2 or a 1, they will also want to participate and play, but they may want to also take a break more quickly, right? So neither is bad or wrong. Neither will not work. Either could work, right? So this is where we're kind of parsing your situation and matching it with the temperamental profile of the pups, okay? So the idea is, on our side, we know what we're doing in the first couple weeks of life. We know what we're doing around week 4. Around week 4 is when we really begin these socialization techniques that we use. The idea of the socialization techniques is to standardize the behaviors to make sure that all the puppies in the litter are in our window. If they're in the window, then what we know is that really, for most situations that people have when they come to us, most of the puppies in the litter are probably going to be a good fit. And now what we're doing is we're fine-tuning. We're listening to the nuances of your family, right? So, a higher energy house, we may want to find a puppy that's a little more assertive because that energy won't be off-putting. Let's say you're an older couple, retired, kids are out of the house, or maybe we've just got a couple adult kids at home. That puppy we might want a more laid-back, chill puppy. But you might be retired folks, super active, and you want your puppy to go out running. Great, got it. So we take the puppy perhaps at the higher end of the window because that might be a better fit overall. I've sat with families who really struggle and labor over this, and I understand it because you're making a big decision, certainly, right? This puppy. If you're watching this video, you're taking this process seriously, which I think is really smart, right? Because this dog is going to come into your house, and Lord willing, it may live 15 years and be an integral part of your life. So you want to make a thoughtful choice at the beginning. But what I'm telling you is, if we lead with temperament, if we work with the idea that the temperaments all fall within a particular window, that any one of the dogs that fall temperamentally in the window could potentially work, and then what we're doing simply is fine-tuning getting an idea of your situation, and then maybe beginning to narrow that to a couple dogs, right? And then here's what happens. It's not uncommon. In our model, we have people come and sit with the litter, and we block out an hour just because we want the puppies to kind of get a sense of you. We want you to get a sense of the puppies. And what typically happens is the right choice eventually emerges, right? And then we give feedback on who's who, where they fall in the window, what we see as sort of the unique facets and how those might be a good fit for your family, or maybe we want to deselect this puppy because there are other better choices. But if all the puppies are in the window, ultimately any one of them could work. Okay, so we want to lead with temperament, right? Getting a good temperament match really is the name of the game. Understanding that there are many dogs that potentially could be a good pick, so you don't have to get it exactly right. socialization of puppies in a breeding program like ours, we're looking to standardize that process, meaning we want to produce puppies, a number of puppies that ought to fit whatever vibe and situation you have in your house. And what that means is you have more choices. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be a super precise idea. The idea is any one of these dogs in front of you will likely work. Okay, let's talk about the last component of choosing a puppy when it comes to temperament. So obviously, in the choosing of a puppy, temperament really is our North Star. Puppies ought to really fall into a window of temperament, right? So that essentially any puppy within the window is going to work for a family. Finally, though, people often think, and they're not wrong necessarily, that temperament is a factor of genetics. And the answer is it is. But genetics is not the only factor. Environment is also a factor. And the truth of the matter is, environment plays an increasingly significant role in the overall demeanor and temperament of a dog. Here's what I mean. You may want a chill dog, right? Because you feel like my environment at home, I want kind of a low-key dog. Makes perfect sense. You pick a low-key dog, you bring that home, but if your home is high energy and there's a lot of activity and the dog is involved in everything, what's going to happen, just like with people, that dog's energy, that chill dog, their energy is going to come up. And they'll get more assertive. They'll become more energetic, right? Conversely, if you have a chill atmosphere, but you want a more assertive dog that's more apt to play, that assertive dog coming into your chill environment, their energy is going to moderate down. You follow me? So this is good news. This is why if you're leading with temperament, if you're looking at dogs that all fall in a standardized temperament window, and then you make your best selection based on the dog at that moment at 8 weeks, right? You bring that dog into your house, but remember, environment goes a long way to shape temperament. Your environment will begin to mold that dog to your vibe. All that to say, the window to choose well is wider than you think. Again, a lot of folks are like, oh boy, I got to get this exactly right or it'll be terrible. And the answer is not really. Not really. If you lead with temperament, if you're clear on sort of the vibe and the way you live your life, if you sit with dogs that have had a very specific, regimented early life socialization schedule so that their temperaments and the nuances of the personalities are understood to the breeder, if you're communicating well with the breeder, and then you come and spend time physically with the dogs to get a sense of them, it is likely, in fact almost certain, that the right choice is going to emerge. And then you make that choice, you bring that dog home, and it's so funny. People many times will come to me, and I get it, they're looking online and they see a dog that they're like, man, that is the one we want. That's the dog we want. And they come and they realize, well, maybe that's not exactly the dog, and they leave with another dog, right? Very common. The feedback I often get is people are like, I don't even remember the other dog that we came for because the dog we ended up with is so perfect for us. So what I find happens, there's a psychological thing. You prep, right? There's a lot of unknowns. You go through the process. You pick the dog. And the minute you pick that dog, it's like you go all in on that dog. That dog, by the way, goes all in on you. And then it becomes almost impossible to imagine that any other dog could have worked. And it feels like you picked the perfect dog. And may I say, you did. You did. So have a process, trust the process. The process we recommend is lead with temperament. It's not that sex doesn't matter. Sex does matter. It doesn't matter that aesthetics aren't important. They are important, or size or breed mix, right? So you want to work all of that out. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to the choosing, temperament will trump everything else, number one. Making sure that the breeder you're working with has these puppies at 8 weeks all in a behavioral window, right, that ought to allow these puppies to be successful in most any situation they end up in. Making sure that in the process of picking, now we're really discussing the nuance of your life and the nuances of the personality of the puppy, right? And then understanding that when the puppy is handed off, really, it's less about genetics at that moment, and then it really becomes about environment, which you have total control over. And because the puppy's young, the puppy will naturally begin to integrate itself temperamentally with your environment. So, hopefully that's helpful. So, may I say, congratulations. I mean, if you watched all of this, you're on the right track. Keep going.